So last weekend, when DRIPA negotiations reached an impasse, the Premier says you put your hand on his shoulder and suggested a way out. We have heard of a working group, a task force, and another group for consultations with stakeholders. Could you please elaborate what exactly is the way forward that you suggested, which Premier David Eby could not come up with himself?
You know what? Me and the Premier and I are a very good team. We work together, and I have a lot of respect for him. This has been a really tough issue, and he's led through a very challenging conversation within caucus and in the public about what we do with his court decision that came down. By working together, I think we were able to find, a pathway where we can solve it by setting up tables and figuring out together with First Nations leaders and other stakeholders how to have a really strong, permanent solution to the challenge that we're facing. We are hard at work on that. We have meetings this week and next week with leadership and other groups, including government, that we're going to sit down and really focus on solving it.
So the opposition is alleging that your government has only added to the confusion around DRIPA and land rights in the province instead of coming up with a solution. It is a fact that it's public knowledge that the Premier has indeed changed his position multiple times on what he wants to do with DRIPA. Would you concede that the government has actually failed to provide a credible solution to this problem?
Yeah, I would disagree a little bit that he's changed his position. He's been clear with people that there is an issue with the court decision. What we've tried to figure out is how to get to a solution. And we've had to pivot because who doesn't want a leader who listens to people and tries to understand how to solve an issue? That's the way leadership should happen. And that's meant that we are, we're trying to figure out a path in a very tough situation. And I think we have a real opportunity here to make a lasting and permanent solution. Just to say what the Conservatives are saying, if there's one party in this province that's been spreading things that are just not true about the court cases that are before us, it's that party. They have been issuing fundraisers to make money off the statements that First Nations people are coming after people's land. I just want to assure people that DRIPA and the issues before that we're dealing with are nothing to do with your private property. They're nothing to do with First Nations coming to take your private property. There's legal issues that we need to sort out, yes. But a lot of the First Nations leaders in the province, including the Cowichan, which is another decision, have said they're not interested in taking people's properties.
But Ms. Sharma, is this not public knowledge that Premier has himself twice this month told all of us that already 20 cases have been impacted by the Cowichan judgment? And yesterday in the legislature, when Mr. Halford asked you to release that list publicly, you refused to do so. And now you're blaming the opposition for spreading misinformation. But don't you think it would be a better idea for your office to release the list of the affected cases as told to us by the Premier? If you release that list yourself, that would ensure that your government is not adding further to the confusion which is already there.
Yeah, that's a fair question, and I can tell you why we won't be releasing that list. There is legal solicitor-client privilege that are related to a lot of the documents or the work that we're doing legally. It's normally the case that the province doesn't reveal its legal strategies or its legal risks to the public, and that's part of protecting British Columbians, in fact, and it's part of my role as Attorney General. The Premier has been open and transparent about the issue at a high level, so people understand why we're doing this hard work and why we're having this conversation, and that's part of helping British Columbians understand. And we're hitting the table with people to try to solve it. It's a tough issue. A lot of tough conversations are going to be have being had and will be had, and we'll get to that solution.
And would you not agree that the province should not be signing new treaties with Indigenous groups like Comox and Kitsalas, until this issue around DRIPA is resolved?
Treaties bring certainty. One of the issues in British Columbia is when, in the history of colonization, British Columbia doesn't have treaties. We don't have very many treaties when the area was colonized. Other parts of the country had treaties to define the relationship between the nations and the government. Modern treaties, like the ones we're introducing, bring that certainty They bring that certainty to everybody about the rights and title of people and what the way that we're going to live together is. So it's an absolutely necessary thing that we make treaties with First Nations, just like the rest of the country.
But we are also embedding UNDRIP in these treaties, and there is a lot of uncertainty about UNDRIP and DRIPA right now.
There's a very particular problem that we need to address with DRIPA. DRIPA has been the law since 2019. So it's been operating in the province very successfully since 2019. We've done a lot of good work through DRIPA, including unlocking billions of dollars of investment in this province, fixing past wrongs like the terrible history of Indigenous people not having rights over their own children. We've changed laws to address that. So DRIPA has been operating for years in this province, bringing that level of certainty and that level of agreement and unlocking a lot of things. It's a very particular issue that we're addressing with the court decision. We're saying that the court shouldn't have a role in doing that this is an agreement between the government and First Nations, and it shouldn't be the court that's directing it, and that's the issue we have with it.
So, Ms. Sharma, would it be then correct to say that DRIPA on its own maybe would not have caused so much confusion around property rights in province had Premier David Eby, who was the AG in 2021, not added Section 8.1 to the Interpretation Act?
Well, the Section 8.1, again, we won. 2 of the 4 judges agreed with us that this is a job not of both the Interpretation Act you're talking about and DRIPA is a job of government and nations to solve. It's not the role of the courts. But that's why this is under appeal. The Premier, when he introduced the legislation, was very clear about what that section meant. And this is part of living in a democracy with an independent court system where they look at our laws and we disagree sometimes, right, about what they're saying our law says and what we did. And then we have the role in the legislature to amend or to fix our laws after that. So that's what we're working on.
Now, BC Conservatives, they have been very clear from the get-go. They want DRIPA repealed. Clearly, you disagree with them, but their interim leader, Trevor Halford, he has been questioning the need to legislate reconciliation. He believes reconciliation can go on even without legislation. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think that they haven't offered an alternative. What DRIPA has done, and I mentioned it's been in law since 2019. It's unlocked billions of dollars worth of opportunity in this province. The major projects that are on the list that the current government has put in place is because we have good relationships. We work together with industry, with First Nations, with stakeholders across the province to lift everybody up. DRIPA is a tool to do that, to recognize a different path forward. Everybody in this province, I think, understands that the history of colonization has been tough on Indigenous people. And it's part of our duty and our job to make that right. And I think even every South Asian would understand that. And so the work of DRIPA has been, in the years that it's been, has unlocked a lot of potential and opportunity in this province. We have an issue to deal with this court case. The Conservatives have also said that they wouldn't sit at the table with First Nations anymore. They would rip up DRIPA. I can tell you what they would be headed for was way more court cases and battles. You wouldn't have major projects. You wouldn't have the mining opportunities that we have. You wouldn't have the fixing of past wrongs that we've been able to do. We would just be in a mess if we followed their path.
Now, all this debate around DRIPA and the alleged flip-flopping of stance by the Premier on this issue, it has also led to some political questions. Now, this week, opposition House leader questioned the Premier on the floor of legislature as to who is in charge, who is in control of this government, to which Premier called on Alia Barbas to bring a motion of confidence and find out herself. But considering MLA Joan Phillip is very ill, as was informed to us by Premier himself, do you still have the numbers in legislature? What is the basis of Premier's confidence? Have you received any indication of support from any of the 6 independents? Yeah,
we have strong confidence in our Premier. This is a challenging issue, no doubt, and he's been very open about this. He's even said this is the toughest issue we've ever faced. Our thoughts and prayers are with our colleague Joan, who's fighting a tough battle right now in the hospital. Mm-hmm. We are a strong team and we're together on this, even though we know it's difficult and we know that this is hard, especially on people like Joan. That's why we're committing to finding this path forward together. And this is the only way we solve complicated problems, right?
So we did hear that there was an attempt to reach out to the 6 independent MLAs in the legislature for support on a possible amendment or suspension of DRIPA. But my question is, did you receive any positive response from any of the 6 independents?
I think a lot of, I'll let them speak for themselves. As independents, they have their vote and their perspective on things. But I think that there's generally an understanding of the issue that we're trying to solve, and that we need to figure out a solution, which we're hard at work at doing. And we as a government have been working as long as it isn't in things we strongly disagree with. We've been working with the Greens and the Independents on, and if the Conservatives have good ideas, then we wouldn't be opposed to working with them. But this is part of the way of our government. It's more collaborative and more open to figuring out how we work together. Anything you'd like to say in closing? I know this is a difficult issue. I want to assure people it has nothing to do with private property. I think that's been something that has been spread. This is a very particular issue, and we're going to get to it, and I'll be on your show as soon as we have a solution.
Thank you very much.